Today is the 12th of August. We are on the chapter 35, Salayatana-samyutta. Now we come to Sutta 35.97. The Buddha said, "Monks, I will teach you about one who dwells negligently and about one who dwells diligently. Listen to that. And how, monks, does one dwell negligently? If one dwells without restraint over the eye faculty, the mind is soiled among forms cognizable by the eye. If the mind is soiled, there is no gladness. When there is no gladness, there is no delight, piti, or rapture. When there is no delight, there is no tranquility. When there is no tranquility, one dwells in suffering. The mind of one who suffers does not become concentrated. When the mind is not concentrated, phenomena do not become manifest. Because phenomena do not become manifest, one is reckoned as one who dwells negligently. Similarly, if one dwells without restraint over the ear faculty, the nose faculty, the tongue, body and mind faculty, the mind is soiled. And if the mind is soiled, there is no gladness. When there is no gladness, there is no delight or rapture. When there is no delight, there is no tranquility. When there is no tranquility, one dwells in suffering. The mind of one who suffers does not become concentrated. When the mind is not concentrated, phenomena do not become manifest. Because phenomena do not become manifest, one is reckoned as one who dwells negligently. It is in such a way, monks, that one dwells negligently." Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says a person is negligent when he does not restrain the sense faculties, the six sense faculties. And then the mind becomes soiled among the objects. That means like forms, sounds, smells, taste, touch, and thoughts. And because the mind is soiled, or you can say scattered, there is no gladness. When there is no gladness, there is no delight or rapture. So because of that, there is no tranquility, and one dwells in suffering. And the mind is not concentrated. When the mind is not concentrated, phenomena do not become manifest. What do you mean by phenomena do not become manifest? It means that phenomena is what we sense through the eye, through the ears and all that. What is sensed by consciousness do not become manifest. That means you don't see clearly. You don't see the characteristics of impermanence, suffering and not self. So because you don't see clearly, then you are one who dwells negligently. And how, monks, does one dwell diligently? If one dwells with restraint over the eye faculty, the mind is not soiled amongst forms cognizable by the eye. If the mind is not soiled, gladness is born. When one is gladdened, rapture is born. When the mind is uplifted by rapture or delight, the body becomes tranquil. One tranquil in body experiences happiness. The mind of one who is happy becomes concentrated. When the mind is concentrated, phenomena become manifest, become very clear. Because phenomena becomes manifest, one is reckoned as one who dwells diligently. Similarly, for the ear, nose, tongue, body and mind faculties, it is in such a way, monks, that one dwells diligently. So here the Buddha says the diligent monk is one who puts a restraint on the six sense faculties. Puts a restraint means he is careful what he observes through the six sense faculties and not pay too much attention to them. Later you'll find the Buddha says you should not pay attention to the signs and the details. So if the mind is not scattered among the six sense faculties, then the mind is concentrated and phenomena becomes very clear, becomes manifest, means very clear. You can see the characteristics of impermanence, suffering and not self. So when you see phenomena clearly, then you understand the nature of the world is suffering and not self. Then you become disenchanted and then dispassionate and then become liberated. 35.99. The Buddha said, monks, develop concentration. A monk who is concentrated understands things as they really are. And what does he understand as they really are? He understands as it really is. The I is impermanent. He understands as it really is. Forms are impermanent. I consciousness is impermanent. I contact is impermanent. Whatever feeling arises with eye contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful, or neither painful nor pleasant, that too is impermanent. He understands as it really is. Similarly, for the other five sense bases, monks develop concentration. A monk who is concentrated understands things as they really are. So here this sutta is very similar to the one we saw earlier in the five khandhas. Only thing is the five aggregates chapter, it says, what does he understand as they really are? He understands as they really are, the five aggregates, instead of the six sense bases. Earlier, says you understand the five aggregates. So the Buddha always stressed concentration. So nowadays, people teach that concentration is not necessary, but that is one of the conditions for the fading away of true Dhamma. The next sutta is 35.100. Buddha says, monks, make an exertion in seclusion. A secluded monk understands things as they really are. And what does he understand as they really are? He understands as it really is. The I is impermanent. He understands as it really is. Forms are impermanent. I consciousness is impermanent. I contact, whatever feeling that arises, that too is impermanent. So similarly for the other six sense bases. So like before in the Samyutta, here also the Buddha always stressed on concentration and seclusion. Seclusion means either both body seclusion, kaya viveka, and mental seclusion, chitta viveka. So concentration and seclusion are very important to see things clearly. Because when we are concentrated and we practice seclusion, then we attain concentration, then we understand things as they really are, and we become disenchanted. 35.103. Monks, Uddaka Ramaputta used to make this declaration. This surely a knowledge master, this surely a universal conqueror, this surely he has excised the tumor's root, not excised before. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says, Uddaka Ramaputta used to make this statement. Uddaka Ramaputta was the Buddha's teacher before the Buddha was enlightened. He had two very good meditation teachers. The first one was Alara Kalama, who taught him the Arupa Jhanas, one of the Arupa Jhanas. And then he found that although he attained very high concentration, he did not become liberated. So he left Alara. And then later he came to this Uddaka Ramaputta, another very accomplished meditation teacher who also could attain a higher state of Arupa Jhana. And still the Buddha did not attain liberation, so the Buddha also left him. So here the Buddha says that this Uddaka Ramaputta used to say that he was a knowledge master, a universal conqueror, that he has excised the tumor's root. Later the Buddha will explain that tumor is a designation for the body, and tumor's root is a designation for craving. And then the Buddha continued. Monks, though Uddaka Ramaputta was not himself a knowledge master, he declared, I am a knowledge master. Though he was not himself a universal conqueror, he declared, I am a universal conqueror. Though he had not excised the tumor's root, he declared, I have excised the tumor's root, cut off the root. But here a monk speaking rightly might say, this surely a knowledge master, this surely a universal conqueror, this surely he has excised the tumor's root not excised before. And how monks is one a knowledge master? When a monk understands as they really are the origin, the passing away, the gratification, the danger and the escape in regard to the 6 bases of contact, such a monk is a knowledge master. And how monks is a monk a universal conqueror? When having understood as they really are the origin, the passing away, the gratification, the danger and the escape in regard to the 6 bases of contact, a monk is liberated by non-clinging. Such a monk is a universal conqueror. And how monks does a monk excise the tumor's root not excised before? The tumor amongst, this is a designation for this body, consisting of the 4 great elements, originating from mother and father, built up out of rice and gruel, subject to impermanence, to rubbing and pressing, to breaking apart and dispersal. Stop here for a moment. Rubbing and pressing, according to the commentary, is rubbing every now and then. You have to rub medicine on your body. Pressing is massage your body when you have aches and pains and all that. The tumor's root, this is a designation for craving. When craving has been abandoned by a monk, cut off at the root, made like a palm stump, obliterated so that it is no more subject to future arising. In such a case, the monk has excised the tumor's root not excised before. Monks, though Uddaka Ramaputta was not himself a knowledge master, he declared, I am a knowledge master. But here monks, a monk speaking rightly, might say, this surely a knowledge master, this surely a universal conqueror, this surely he has excised the tumor's root not excised before. That's the end of the sutta. So, before the Buddha was enlightened, even though you had great meditation teachers with psychic power and all that, but not a single one of them could show the way to liberation, to enlightenment. It was only the Buddha, after the Buddha was enlightened, then he decided to teach, and he was the Sammasambuddha, the highest in spiritual attainment. So, that's the end of the sutta. The Buddha says somewhere in one of the suttas that only when you have the Noble Eightfold Path that you can find Aryans. If you don't have the Noble Eightfold Path, you cannot find Aryans. The next sutta is 35.110. It's on page 1186. Monks, I will teach you the things that can be clung to and the clinging. Listen to that. And what, monks, are the things that can be clung to and what is the clinging? The eye, monks, is a thing that can be clung to. The desire and lust for it is the clinging there. The ear is a thing that can be clung to. The desire and lust for it is the clinging there. Similarly, for the nose, tongue, body and mind. So the sense organs are the things that can be clung to, and the clinging is the desire and lust for the 6 sense organs. These are called the things that can be clung to, and this is the clinging. 35.114. Monks, there are forms cognizable by the eye that are desirable, lovely, agreeable, pleasing, sensually enticing, tantalizing. If a monk seeks delight in them, welcomes them, and remains holding to them, he is called a monk who has entered Mara's lair, who has come under Mara's control. Mara's snare has been fastened on him, so that he is bound by the bondage of Mara, and the evil one can do with him as he wishes. There are, monks, sounds cognizable by the ear that are desirable, lovely, agreeable, pleasing, tantalizing. If a monk seeks delight in them, welcomes them and remains holding to them, he is called a monk who has entered Mara's lair, has come under Mara's control. Mara's snare has been fastened on him so that he is bound by the bondage of Mara. Similarly for the other 6 sense, the other sense organs. So here, stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says that if a monk seeks delight in forms, sounds, smells, taste, touch and thoughts, then he has entered Mara's lair, Mara's dwelling, and he has come under Mara's control, and Mara's snare has been fastened on him, is bound by Mara. And then the Buddha continues, there are amongst forms cognizable by the eye that are desirable, lovely, agreeable, pleasing, sensually enticing, tantalizing. If a monk does not seek delight in them, does not welcome them, and does not remain holding to them, he is called a monk who has not entered Mara's lair, who has not come under Mara's control. Mara's snare has been unfastened from him, so that he is not bound by the bondage of Mara, and the evil one cannot do with him as he wishes. Similarly, there are sounds, smells, taste, touch and thoughts that are desirable, lovely, pleasing, tantalizing, etc. If a monk does not seek delight in them, then he has not come under Mara's control, and Mara's snare has been unfastened from him, so that he is not bound by the bondage of Mara. That's the end of the sutta. So, if we take delight in the sense objects, and sense objects actually the sensual pleasures that come through the senses, worldly pleasures, then we are caught by Mara. But for people who don't know of any other happiness, that's the only happiness they know, so it's very natural to be caught by Mara. It's only when we become streetwise, become world-wise, we understand the world better, then we have more wisdom. The next sutta is 35.118. On one occasion, the Blessed One, that's on page 1192, on one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Rajagaha on Mount Vulture Peak. Then Sakka Devaraja, king of the Devas, approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him, stood to one side and said to him, Noble Sir, what is the cause and reason why some beings here do not attain Nibbana in this very life? And what is the cause and reason why some beings here attain Nibbana in this very life? And the Buddha said, Lord of the Devas, Devaraja, there are forms cognizable by the eye that are desirable, lovely, agreeable, pleasing, sensually enticing, tantalizing. If a monk seeks delight in them, welcomes them, and remains holding to them, his consciousness becomes dependent upon them and clings to them. A monk with clinging does not attain Nibbana. Devaraja, there are sounds cognizable by the ear, smells, taste, touch and thoughts that are desirable, lovely, agreeable, pleasing, sensually enticing, tantalizing. If a monk seeks delight in them, welcomes them, and remains holding to them, his consciousness becomes dependent upon them and clings to them. A monk with clinging does not attain Nibbana. This is the cause and reason, Devaraja, why some beings here do not attain Nibbana in this very life. So if we cling to the things of the world, then we cannot attain Nibbana. There are a lot of the Devas, forms cognizable by the eye, sounds cognizable by the ear, etc., that are desirable, lovely, agreeable, pleasing, sensually enticing, tantalizing. If a monk does not seek delight in them, does not welcome them, and does not remain holding to them, his consciousness does not become dependent upon them or cling to them. A monk without clinging attains Nibbana. This is the cause and reason, Devaraja, why some beings here attain Nibbana in this very life. That's the end of the sutta. So from here you can understand, if you want the goal of the holy life, you have to give up. If you don't give up worldly pleasures, you can never attain. 35.120. On one occasion, the Venerable Sariputta was dwelling at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Natha Pindika's park. Then a certain monk approached the Venerable Sariputta and exchanged greetings with him. When they had concluded their greetings and cordial talk, he sat down to one side and said to Venerable Sariputta, "Friend Sariputta, a monk who was my co-resident has given up the training and returned to the lower life." He's saying the monk who shares a kuti with him has disrobed. And Venerable Sariputta said, "So it is, friend, when one does not guard the doors of the sense faculties, is immoderate in eating, and is not devoted to wakefulness, that a monk who does not guard the doors of the sense faculties, who is immoderate in eating, and who is not devoted to wakefulness, will maintain all his life the complete and pure holy life. This is impossible. But friend, that a monk who guards the doors of the sense faculties, who is moderate in eating, and who is devoted to wakefulness, will maintain all his life the complete and pure holy life. This is possible. And how, friend, does one guard the doors of this?" Stop here for a moment. So here, Venerable Sariputta says that these three things are very important for a monk. If he wants to maintain the pure holy life, three things are extremely important for him to practice. If he does not practice these three things, then he cannot maintain his holy life and will disrobe. So we go through these three things one by one. And how, friend, does one guard the doors of the sense faculties? This one is called Indriya Gutta Dwara. Indriya Gutta Dwara. Here, having seen a form with the eye, a monk does not grasp its signs and features, since if he left the eye faculty unrestrained, evil and wholesome states of covetousness and displeasure might invade him. He practices the way of its restraint. He guards the eye faculty. He undertakes the restraint of the eye faculty. Similarly, having heard a sound with the ear, smell with the nose, taste with the tongue, a touch with the body, and a thought with the mind, a monk does not grasp its signs and features, since if he left the faculties unrestrained, evil, unwholesome states of covetousness and displeasure might invade him. He practices the way of its restraint. He guards the mind faculty. He undertakes the restraint of the faculties. It is in this way, friend, that one guards the doors of the sense faculties. Stop here for a moment. So here, Buddha says, if a monk is diligent, then when the six sense objects impinge on his six sense bases, he does not pay too much attention to them. For example, when he sees something, he doesn't pay too much attention to the general features. Here it says the signs, or the details of it, the minor details of it. For example, you see somebody of the opposite sex. If you look closely, then you think, oh, this girl is beautiful, or that man is handsome. Then covetousness arises, desire. And then if you cannot get what you want, then the displeasure will follow. That's why here it says, if he left the faculties unrestrained, evil, unwholesome states of covetousness and displeasure might invade him. So, similarly, when you hear a sound, or you smell the smell, or taste and all that, don't pay too much attention. In other words, the mind has got to be fixed on your object of contemplation, object of meditation. For example, if a monk is practicing anapanasati, so he has to keep his attention on anapanasati all the time. Or if he is watching his mind, then he keeps watching his mind. In other words, his attention is not diverted out to the world, it goes inwards. So that's a restraint of the faculties, guarding the doors of the sense faculties. In other words, you don't want to be too much of a kepo, interested in all the worldly things. And how, friend, is one moderate in eating? Here, reflecting carefully, a monk takes food neither for amusement, nor for intoxication, nor for the sake of physical beauty and attractiveness, but only for the support and maintenance of this body, for ending discomfort, and for assisting the holy life, considering, thus I shall terminate the old feeling and not arouse a new feeling, and I shall be healthy and blameless and live in comfort. This in this way, friend, that one is moderate in eating. Stop here for a moment. So here, when we take food, then we reflect that we are not taking the food for amusement. That means because we want to enjoy the food, or for beauty of the body. But the main purpose is to support and maintain the body and ending discomfort so that it won't get sick, for assisting the holy life so that we can practice the holy life. And then you have to consider, thus I shall terminate the old feeling. The old feeling is feelings of hunger and not arouse a new feeling. New feeling is like feeling of greed. So I shall be healthy and blameless and live in comfort. So the Buddha's standard, moderation in eating would seem a bit ascetic to many people because the Buddha recommends 1 meal a day. The Buddha himself says he eats at one sitting, but because some monks complain that about this eating at one meal, then he allowed them to keep the food, the leftover food, and eat it before noon. In this country it's 1 o'clock. So you can say then he allowed 2 meals. But generally the Buddha did not want to trouble lay people, so a monk can only go on alms round 1 time a day in the morning, after dawn and before noon. That means in this country after 7 a.m. and before 1 p.m. And how, friend, is one devoted to wakefulness? Here during the day, while walking back and forth and sitting, a monk purifies his mind of obstructive states. In the first watch of the night, while walking back and forth and sitting, he purifies his mind of obstructive states. In the middle watch of the night, he lies down on his right side in the lion's posture with 1 foot overlapping the other, mindful and clearly comprehending. Actually, this word, mindful and clearly comprehending, is sati sampajanya. Sati is recollection, and sampajanya is mindfulness. After noting in his mind the idea of rising, after rising in the last watch of the night, while walking back and forth and sitting, he purifies his mind of obstructive states. It is in this way, friend, that one is devoted to wakefulness. Therefore, friend, you should train yourself thus. We will guard the doors of the sense faculties. We will be moderate in eating. We will be devoted to wakefulness. Thus, friend, should you train yourself. So this devotion to wakefulness, here the Buddha says, during the daytime, a monk should purify his mind of unwholesome states. Unwholesome states meaning states of greed, hatred, delusion, states of sensual desire, states of ill will or anger, states of sloth and torpor, states of restlessness and worry and doubt. These are the 5 hindrances. So to do that, we must always keep our mind on the one of the 4 stations of recollection, the sati or satipatthana, the object of sati or satipatthana. This word sati, sometimes people translate it as mindfulness. It is not general mindfulness. It is a specific mindfulness. The proper translation for sati is recollection. That means always remembering your object of contemplation. Always remembering, because this word sati comes from a root word that means to remember. So to remember, to put your mind only on your object of meditation or contemplation, and not to allow it to run out to the 6 senses, to see things, to hear sounds, to smell, taste and all that. So here the Buddha says during the daytime the monk should sit and walk to keep his mind in check, to maintain his samadhi. And then at night there are 3 watches of the night. The first watch is generally, if you take 12 midnight to be 12 o'clock, then 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. Is the first watch, the first 4 hours. These 3 watches, add them together is 12 hours. So the first 4 hours is the first watch. The middle 4 hours from 10 p.m. until 2 a.m. Is the middle watch. And from 2 to 6 a.m. Is the last watch. So the Buddha said that his disciples, even the first watch, they should not go to sleep. They should maintain their wakefulness, not allow themselves to fall asleep. And then from 10 p.m. until 2 a.m. They should lie down, but still maintain sati sampajanya. To maintain sati sampajanya, that means you have to be mindful as well as recollect your object of meditation. So that is not easy to do, because when you are tired, to maintain your wakefulness is very difficult. But because the Buddha's disciples, they practice very hard, so they maintain their mindfulness until they are able, when their samadhi is good, they are able to maintain it. If they have 4 jhanas, then there's a chance they can maintain. If you don't have the 4 jhanas, I think it's quite impossible, because your mind is weak. You tend to lapse into a sleep state. So it's because the Buddha's disciples practice like this until they have actually mindfulness 24 hours a day. That's why when they become Arahant, the Buddha says all Arahants have mindfulness 24 hours a day. In the Vinaya books, you cannot fault any Arahant. You cannot accuse an Arahant of any fault, because his mindfulness is maintained 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So these are the 3. So in the last watch, then he gets up, and then he still does walking and sitting, writing. Actually, this meditation is basically a fight against sleep. Meditation is a fight against sleep. That's why meditation is so hard, so difficult. So these are the 3 things. One is guarding the doors of the sense faculties. Second one is moderation in eating, because if you eat too much, you become very sleepy. And then third one is devotion to wakefulness.